Okay, we got some news for mouse and keyboard players out there on XDefiant. I sent a tweet, or an X, to Mark Rubin and Aches, and I got a quick response thanks to some help from Zai, another XDefiant content creator who helped bump the tweet up to get a quick response. Here's what it was. You can look at the screen to get the word for word, but essentially to summarize it, the first minute of matchmaking when you're on keyboard and mouse with input based off, you're only searching for other keyboard and mouse, and the same goes for controller players. The very first minute, if it's off, you're going to match with nothing but controller players. Logic would tell me that this rule doesn't apply if you're in a place like Fiji or somewhere really kind of niche where you don't have very many players to choose from. Either way, this would explain why a lot of times it feels like it takes at least a minute to queue up on keyboard and mouse, but on controller you essentially get lobbies instantly because 90% of the player base is on controller. What I would suggest is pushing an update at some point in time that sets input-based matchmaking off by default, and then everybody who wants to only play against their same input device can go into the matchmaking settings and switch it on. This 1 minute rule I feel like is fair if you're a picky keyboard and mouse player, considering majority of the players are on controller. It just kind of gives a best of both worlds if we could get input based off. Due to the fact that the controller player base is 90% of the players in the game, there's a wider disparity between skill gap and anything. Regardless of how you feel about aim assist and everything, it's really overpowered only in the hands of somebody who's basically an overpowered player just with their skill level. I mean, there's people who are just really good at the game. It doesn't matter what they're playing on. For instance, somebody like Raxi, he's a Valorant Radiant top 500 North American player, but he's also an amazing controller player. Things like centering, things like map positioning, things like game sense, those translate regardless of what input that you're playing on. Of course, your tracking, your flicking, all these other aspects of mouse aim have to be practiced. The same way that aiming with your right stick on controller is harder than moving your feet and taking advantage of rotational aim assist, which you should be doing. All the good players are using movement and benefiting that to also help their aim. It even seems like using strafing left and right to adjust your aim on keyboard and mouse is really beneficial on this game because you're getting a double benefit. You're moving your body, making yourself a harder target, and you're also adjusting your aim at the same time. Don't just be relying on your mouse aim. On controller, moving the left analog stick with the crosshair over the enemy causes rotational aim assist to kick in. This happens whether or not your back is against the wall. Also, another thing to keep in mind is when you jump, if you're playing a controller player, you're exposing your bottom of your legs still, but if you crouch, you go completely under their aim assist bubble. This is a reason why I would suggest sliding to peek corners rather than jump peeking corners. I think the best usage of jumping around corners is when you do a super jump, which is the slide button and the jump button at the same time, and then immediately engage an enemy right after that, one that you already know the exact position of. Have a good day, guys.